My name is Monica Thomas-Berger. We are here today with Common Visions at the Queen Elizabeth II Conference Centre, reporting live from the Sustainable Development UK 2011 conference.
GovNet events have been running SDUK for the last 6 years now, and it's really an opportunity for people from government, both local and central, and charities, private sector, all to come and get together and discuss the latest policies and the latest local best practice for promoting sustainable development. So I think probably some of the main drivers for today would be DEFRA have recently come out with their vision for embedding sustainable development, making it more than just a separate green issue and becoming mainstream within business plans. Everything from infrastructure to the sources of energy, being like nuclear or renewables or anything like that.
We asked 4 leading experts questions about different fields of sustainability. Here's what Neil Herbert from the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea had to say.
I mean, all I can really say is what we do in Kensington and Chelsea, which I think is a fairly good example. I mean, as I mentioned before, we have a fairly sort of limited amount of open space. So what's really important, I think, is to make the best of what you've got. Now, in Kensington, we've got probably about 7 or 8 main parks, and we make absolutely sure that we maintain those to the highest possible standards, and that we really make the most of it for local people. But in addition to that, we also know that we have various other pieces of land which are potentially derelict, which are quite often development sites, so maybe going to remain vacant for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So when we find bits of land like that, we're really keen to work with the owners of them, negotiate improvements, turn them into small parks just for limited periods of time. We've also done an awful lot of work to create what we call community kitchen gardens, which are sort of basically raised planters for people to grow vegetables in. In the last year we've done something like 25 different sites, 150 planters in those sites, and that's benefiting around about 400 people at the moment. And next year we plan to double that and spread that across the whole of the borough. So that will be an enormous benefit to people, particularly those who live in flats who don't have access to gardens. So there's some really good stuff there. Something else which I think is quite interesting, given the quite large amounts of sort of flat roofs in the borough, and that's to gradually think about doing green roofs. We've done a few of those already, working with some of the hospitals and so forth where we find these roofs, and whether or not they make a huge difference in terms of climate change is one thing, but they're definitely great to look at, and people love them.
We spoke to Pascal Greverat from Nestle on how the fuel industry adds towards water shortage.
Yeah, I think the idea here is that we realize that there is a clear increase of the water stress all over the world, and particularly in areas where the demographics is rising very rapidly, but not only, also in this country like UK or in Switzerland, the country where I'm living, we are also facing water shortage. And at the same time, we see public policies subsidizing, encouraging the production of biofuels, or rather I would qualify them as agrofuel, because unfortunately the biofuel today are by far produced from edible food crop. So in fact it creates additional tension on water resource, and some studies from the United Nations shows that this 10% target, for instance, which we see in many countries in Europe, but also in many countries in the world, to have 10% of fuel used for transportation coming from biofuel, will accelerate the pressure on water resource, the stress, the withdrawal, if you want, of water resource, between 30 to 50%, where at the same time we all know that in 2030 we will have severe water shortage, even more severe than today, with general gap of water. So we think really it's not reasonable to push today for accelerating the use of biofuel for transportation, because it will result in additional water shortage, and as a consequence, of course, it puts pressure and stress on the food supply. That's as simple as that. And when I said the quantity of water used to produce 1 liter of biodiesel is the same as to produce 3 kilos of chicken, it puts in perspective, you know, that either we will use the water we have to produce chicken and to feed the population, or we will use it to drive cars. So what do we prefer?
It's how do we get access to what we need to get access to? And sometimes that will mean we have to move around, and clearly the way we move around matters in a low carbon, mostly with public transport and so on, or on bicycles and walking. But the thing is the things we need to get access to close to where we are, and we've zoned our lives, we're very spread out. So I think you can't say we're anywhere near having sustainable transport, and you need to look at some of the continental towns and cities like Freiburg in Germany to see really how you get access to what people need, which diminishes the need to travel around.
Sustainable transport's going to need everything. It's going to need new technology, moving towards, say, an electric car, better use of mass transportation, probably some telecommuting, some behaviour change as well. So I don't think it's either simply a behavioural change issue or a technology. It will actually need to be a combination of all of them.
Sustainability is a topic that concerns us all. For more views, you can join our discussions on Common Visions.